Welcome to the Safety Pro Podcast, where we help you manage workplace safety one episode at a time. And now, your very own Safety Pro, Blaine J. Hoffman.
Welcome to a bonus episode. This is a supplemental to the last episode where I talked about safety and health goals and objectives, how to set SMART goals and objectives for your business. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about. We got a lot of questions from listeners via email asking for specific examples, and they provided examples that they were dealing with in their businesses on what direction would I suggest they go in with SMART goals. And I want to address a couple of those. But first, I want to make sure that I kind of get something off my chest. I'm just off the cuff, no script, no notes, just something that, bugs me about my industry, and I want to share with you guys. I spent over a decade as a corporate consultant, going all over the country, doing all kinds of work for all sorts of companies in different industries, including Department of Defense, the Air Force, manufacturing, mining. I got a lot of exposure to a lot of great people in a lot of different ways of doing things. And, I learned just as much as I shared with my clients. That's the way I looked at it. The one thing that always bothered me about my industry is, we call these guys gurus, right? So, and you know who they are. They're great for motivational speaking. They're great for conferences. Problem though is that they're always stuck in that guru mode. They speak in platitudes, vagaries, generalities. They don't really get into the weeds or get specific on, okay, that sounds great, I get it, but how do you do that? Well, you gotta formulate a strategic counsel and you got to really dig deep. You got to do a deep dive. They don't tell you anything. Nothing. They're completely useless. So you leave a conference feeling great, but the next day you get into the office, turn on the light, and you look at your trends, you look at your data, you look at your injury illness records, you look at your workers, you look at your workplace, and maybe you're still struggling with some stuff. So that's when I decided, I didn't want to be that person. I don't want to be that guru. I want to be somebody who actually says, hey, look, here's how you establish SMART goals and objectives, and I'll give you an example. And I laid that out for you. Well, like clockwork, there's a few of these gurus out there that it's happened a couple of times to me where I'll drop an episode or a blog post, and without fail, 2 or 3 days later, they drop an article or a blog. It's about the same topic. It never fails. So, the last episode I dropped was, of course, how to set SMART goals and objectives for your company. And here it comes 2-3 days later, I think, after I released that episode. One of these gurus, it's the exact same topic. And it was literally 6-7 sentences. That was it. That was the article. And then it was like, hire me and type of thing. But it said, hey, if you want to start setting SMART goals, stop creating bad ones. That was it. That was literally the advice. Again, guru, right? It's, if you want to be smart, stop being stupid. And thank you. And that was it. It just bothers me. So I want to address so I gave a specific example in the episode of how you can do it. I broke down the acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, right? And then I gave an example. If your organization is pursuing VPP, how to kind of break that down into those different letters of the acronym. Well, I want to give you another example. This came from a listener. It was an email. And they struggled a lot with upper management. And upper management always pushes and it's a very noble goal, by the way. It's lofty, but it's noble. It is certainly something we all strive for, and that is zero injuries, zero incidents, zero recordables. How do you apply that lofty goal, that vague goal of we want nobody to get hurt, to the SMART acronym, right? How do you apply that? So here's what I would do if I were in that situation. I would first say, which injuries are we having now? what departments, what shifts, what type of work, what type of machinery, what type of processes, everything, body parts, mechanism of injury, things like that. You need data. You need to look for trends. And even if you have them across the board, that gives you some place to start. So let's say you identify a dozen, injuries last year, a mix of first aids and recordables, and maybe throwing some near misses in there. But let's say you identify, wow, 18% of them are lacerations. 10% of them are, at the parking lot in the winter. So now you've got these buckets. Try to put them in different buckets, and then from there, you have something specific to start with. The first letter of that acronym, specific. So now we say, you know what? Every winter, we see a spike in falls and slips in the parking lot. What can we do to help manage that? And how can we measure that? Maybe we have to have a contract set up for, pre-treat for severe weather, ahead of snow coming, instead of just plowing sometime during the day after the event. Maybe it's warning signs out there that employees know temperatures are at the freezing range, and there may be something out there. Maybe we have to repair some of the, and it requires funding. But again, you work through that acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. We should be able to break down, once we zero in on something specific, the rest just kind of unfolds. You're able to unpack that. So let's say it's lacerations. You identify 5, 8, 10, 12% of your injuries are lacerations. You can focus on that. You can put things in place, from work instructions, better training, switching out tooling. Maybe it's the what's causing the cuts. Are they machines, tools, hand tools, power tools? Are they knives, box cutters? You can zero in and reduce or eliminate those over time. Okay, so it's got to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So that's how you go from zero accidents, which is, again, in my previous episode, the example I gave is, that's like the football coach saying, we're going to win. No, we want to know the how are we going to win? Which strategy are we going to employ? And then who has to do what when we get out there? So lacerations, we're going to eliminate lacerations, and here's how we're going to do it. You lay that plan out. So if you do that with these different buckets based on the trends, based on what the injury illness records are telling you, the story they tell, you can engage workers where the work happens. You can get management support behind this, because you're going to have to pitch this. Hey, you want zero accidents, zero injuries? I could show you how to get there, but it's going to take X, Y, and Z in these areas of the business as far as investing time, money, and resources. You have a plan you can present that is solid, that is actually based on data. It's specific. You can show how you're going to measure progress going forward. It is something that you can achieve. Zero accidents, or we can eliminate 10% of our injuries going forward based on our last 3 years worth of data. We can eliminate 10, 12% of them just by doing X, Y, Z. So, it's measurable, it's achievable, and it's relevant. It's relevant to what the business is saying they want, which is zero injuries. And of course, you could say in the next 12 months, in the next 6 months, or in the next quarter, we need to roll out this training and this new tooling, that kind of stuff. So that's how you get specific. That first letter in the acronym is you look at the data. What story is that telling you? Look at your audits. Look at which areas do you frequently find violations or, drift from the expected condition to what you're actually seeing. Which areas of your plant or your process do you have the most problems? And go in and see if you can tackle those areas of the shop, of the manufacturing environment. So, maybe it's not injury illness data, maybe it's compliance issues where you're already managing injuries down to a low trend, but now you're wanting to get ahead of that and say, well, our next injuries are most likely going to be over here in the chemical processing area because we're continuously finding near misses and low-hanging fruit that nobody's picking. So we're going to go over there and tackle that. But that's how you apply this. You make that shift from a vague, lofty goal to a very specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant goal with a time limit set on that. So I hope that helps. Start with the data. What's your data telling you? Listen to what it's saying. Which areas are you having the most issues? Is it with new hires? Is it with the seasoned workers? Is it with third shift? Is it with maintenance? Is it with the machine operators? Is it with chemical processing? Is it material handling? Is it all walking, working surfaces? Is it arms and elbows that are giving you the biggest issues in the workplace? Or is it lacerations? Are they contusions? Look at all the data. You will start to be able to create these buckets. And with those buckets, you can then, with tactical approach, you can knock those out. Okay? That's how you take this lofty goal that the upper management throws down and says, we are, shooting for beyond zero, or some of those, I've heard that one before too. That's how you take that and say, well, how do we do this? That's what you got to do. That's our job. Our job in the business is to help reduce risk and help these workers go home safely. Again, keep the emails coming. I got a lot of feedback on this last episode, and don't be fooled by the gurus, okay? I'm not asking anything of you. I'm not selling anything to you, so take it for what it is. But you need somebody that can help you with the how, okay? That you have to engage employees. You need to improve culture to improve your business. Okay, thanks, Captain Obvious, but focus on the how. It's okay to be a strategist. I actually live and think in that space a lot, but I automatically shift to, now how am I going to make that happen? Because that's where the work happens. That is where you're going to achieve that lofty goal, is by breaking it down and doing the hard work every day to get there. Okay? Keep the emails coming, and thanks again for listening. And I appreciate it. I hope you like this bonus episode. I just threw this one out there, threw it together off the cuff. But until next time, as always, be safe.
Thanks for listening to the Safety Pro Podcast. Be sure to visit www.consulthoffman.com for articles and information about safety services. To have Blaine read your question on the show, email him at customerservice@consulthoffman.com. Be sure to have 2 F's and 2 N's on Hoffman. Until next time, be safe.